Right, good morning all. First, I think one of the most important things that Graham said there, actually, showing unfortunately the Titanic, we need to make sure that we stay afloat. With anything else, we must stay afloat. So, to do that, we need a few things. Amongst them, we need finances, we need reserves, and we need to ensure that we've got a structured balance sheet in order to be able to move forward. Okay? Let's have a look at the reserves then. We can see here the total reserves that we have in the society are almost £9 million. Okay? The red line here actually shows the free reserves. Now, free reserves are reserves that are in the bank that are easily accessible. We would not include a building as such in free reserves. And we can see from this red line here of free reserves that in 1998, now you'll remember that in 1998, that was the time when the disciplines left us. We were basically at rock bottom. We really did have financial problems here. So, within the last 12 years, up to 2010, we have maintained income, in fact increased it year on year, to a point where we have maintained reserves and surpluses, and now you can see that we have £7 million reserves here, which in 2010 have been reduced by the value of the building. So, the actual reserves policy that we have, the Charities Commission require that we have a reserves policy in place, and that reserves policy is to ensure that we have at least 3 months' expenditure in the bank in case we hit any problems. We see we are currently at a situation whereby the free reserves are 7 months, okay, and that is after deducting the value of the building. So we haven't gone out to build a building without reserves. We haven't gone to the bank to say can we loan money, because it was really important to us that we ensured that we save this money before we start spending it. Okay, so very good healthy position. Future plans. Different plans that we have, we must of course maintain the current position that we have in the market. We need IT development to move forward. We need to support the examinations system. We need to address membership lapsing, which will be picked up later, and also, of course, support and develop and train our volunteers. Now, these are the major items that we will be moving forward with in the next few years. Of course, there will be other things as well. If there's anything important, please do talk to us. Send us a letter, write to us, speak to us later on what you think is important. So, income. We cannot increase our reserves unless we have income. £8 million over the last few years, each year, income into HQ. There are over 160,000 charities registered in the UK, of which we represent the top 1%. We are within the top 1% in relation to the income that we have. So we're important. Okay? We can see here that over 70% of this income year on year represents membership, gift aid and examinations. Right? The income that comes in does not only come to HQ, you will all be sitting on committees, national committees, regional committees. There is also income and expenditure in those committees as well. So, thinking of all the regional and county committees, the total amount that is actually held by them, I'm going to ask you, what do you think? Total amount held? Someone give a guess? We had loads of ideas yesterday. Come on, you. Nobody give a guess? Brian, you were about to say something. Go on, guess. No.
100,000.
100,000, super. 587,000. So there is over £500,000 held in your regions and counties. Okay. On top of this, we send out each year capitation fees to the regions and county committees, and in 2010 this represented £1 for each gold or silver member. So a total amount of £68,000 was sent out to your committees, with the main requirement that you use this money, please, first and foremost for the expenditure for travel for volunteers. Okay. I think you're just about to ask a question. Can I just mention at this point, we do have a question and answer session later, so please don't worry, we will move on with the presentations and we will have time for any questions later on. Okay? So, looking at this now, of the £68,000 sent out, please remember to use that for volunteers' expenses. You all know how much work you put in that unfortunately we cannot pay you. Do not lose out. Very important. Gift aid. To date, we have received over £2 million in gift aid since 2001. A guess of how much we receive every year now? Anyone? 240,000, because you're learning to read. You should put these things out. She wins the box of chocolates, £250,000 each year that we receive from the government for gift aid, and this forms part of our budget. So it is really important that as long as the government continues to pay this to us, that we can claim this. Okay. We've had a new telemarketing campaign last year, which was very successful, and we aim to do another one in the future. Benefit rules from HMRC must be adhered to. So please be careful, do not give any benefits out to members over and above what we already agree. Otherwise, we stand to lose this 240,000. Not only that, but we may have to give the rest of it back. So very important there. Okay? Finance Directorate. That includes the Finance Department and all corporate governance of trustees, the Merchandising Department and the Estates Department. Finance Department has a team of 6 professionals committed to do all the normal everyday things that you would expect a finance department to do. Similarly, the Merchandising Department, and I would mention here, although we are the largest equine bookshop in the UK, we are like every other company at the moment in the economic climate, we are having problems with turnover. It's hard to sell things when people just haven't got the money to buy. And I've had a few people saying to me, what are you going to do? How can you compete with Amazon? To be honest, we cannot compete with the likes of Amazon. We're not big enough. So what we will be doing in the next 6 months, we will be trying to work with them and see if they can assist us sell some goods. Okay? It's open later on if you want to go along and have a look. Estates Department. Far and large, this is the building we're sitting in. This is our main asset. Okay? We can see here we started with a budget of £5.7 million. And what we intended to do with that budget was to build a horseshoe. Not the full circle, a horseshoe. With going out to tender and trying to keep those costs down as much as possible, we ended up being able to do the full circle. You see the circle going right behind, and behind the tree there, helicopter, Graham sitting in this helicopter. We've got the full circle, which means we have another third, which we don't need to use on a day-to-day basis, but we can use for future income, for rental. Now, not only did we do the full circle instead of the horseshoe, not only did we still maintain 7 months reserves, and not only did we have more IT equipment and furniture that we intended, we actually came in at a cost of £4.3 million, which was 75% of budget. Okay? We are still financially viable. Now, to keep this, to ensure that we are financially viable for the future, we have to be absolutely contingent that we increase our membership.